So as you can see in this box, nothing but pure, unadulterated awesomeness. The seats have at long last arrived, which is perfect because I am almost done getting the old seats cleaned up. Here's number three of four, old seat frame, getting all the old glue and everything off of that. Almost done with that. And these just pulled up in a magic FedEx van. Look at that. Will be the headrest. Oh. Get that. Woohoo! That's the backs. Oh, let's get on the seat bottoms. This one, the seat bottoms. Oh man, hold on. I gotta put you down. Just a second. Look at this. This seat bottom comes already attached. So this leather's already been done. It's attached to the foam here. And so all I have to do is, when the frame's ready, I got to do the webbing on the seat support material, and then this lays down on top of it. That foam comes around to get glued on there, and then since this is already attached, this just pulls down around it. That is what my beautiful new leather seat bottoms look like, with very light stitching on the outside edges to match. This is the same color as the wall panels, the dove color. I'm so excited. Oh my God. All right, I got a bunch of work to do. This is gonna take a while. Got to get the seats stripped, got to get them repainted. Like I said, I've only got one frame left. Then I'll sand them down, repaint those. That'll be done, and then we'll put the seat support material on and then start putting these on. So we're just days away from this airplane being 100% done. Very excited at long last. Stick around. It's not very pretty on the bottom, that's for sure. Oh, there's just 25 years of nasty in there. I know the seats were recovered in 1997. Not sure about that. That might be original 1973 burlap. So if you ever wonder where that old airplane smell comes from, it's probably your seats. I will say, after I finished doing the interior of the airplane, I'm waiting on the seats. I had put the old seats in just so I could do some test runs with it and stuff. And I just basically drenched the seats, including the bottoms where I could get to the foam, in Febreze. And yeah, actually worked really nice. Even right now, the seats smell good. Even though they look disgusting, they smell good. So if you have an old airplane and you're not quite ready to replace everything yet, other than your carpet, which might be filled with debris, a lot of the smell comes from the foam nastiness in your seats. So Febreze might do the trick. Oh, this is just nasty. That. All right. And there you go, seat frame. So leaves a lot of glue residue behind. That'll clean up pretty easy, I think. Take a little acetone, some MEK, rub all that down, and then I'll probably sand them down, give them a little coat of paint, just clean them up a little bit. Rollers seem like they're in pretty good shape. Just grease those up a little bit. And then the new one will go on. So these original seats did not come with headrests. However, the model year was designed for a headrest. There's a nice little hole there. So post slides down right in here, locks in place. So I've got some aluminum, and I will fabricate the insert for the instructions. And it's basically just a flat plate that's going to slide right down here on a post, and then the foam headrest piece will go right on top of that. So I'll show you that process as I make that, but yeah, so that'll be a nice little added bonus to the seats. All we want out of here is the metal frame. Everything else coming from Airtex, brand new. New foam, new webbing for the seat support, new leather on top. I debated on doing vinyl or leather. So I ran into Airtex at Oshkosh, and they had a leather seat there on display. Really liked it, and decided to go with that because the vinyl, after a while, like this is vinyl, gets that shiny appearance to it after a while. The leather won't do that. Obviously, a little bit more care required for the leather, but overall, I like the look of it better. The side panels are vinyl, and that's because they don't get the wear that the seats do. And they recommend not doing vinyl or not doing leather on the side panels just because it's just not worth the extra expense. Voila. All right, I'll get all these things cleaned up, get the other 3 seats apart, and then show you the after. So I'm taking the rollers off on the bottom of the seats. You can see they just come out, the little bolt nut on there. Just going to clean these out a little bit just so that they roll a little bit smoother on there. But essentially, once they come out, what you've got, there's the bolt, the main bolt that goes through it. And here is, I guess kind of almost works like a bearing, right? So it's a little tube that inserts inside here. So what you want to do is just put a little bit of grease. After I clean them up, I'll grease this, slide that back inside there, and then the whole thing goes right on there. And that way, when you tighten this up, this little roller can roll nice and free. See, these just come out pretty straightforward. You can just kind of see it's pretty gunked up. Just a lot of dirt, debris, and stuff over the years. So it'd be good to get them cleaned up. Just push this little guy out from the middle. So it's got a lot of grease on it there. Then just clean them up and then repack it with some grease and put it all back together after you get the seat frames all repainted. So I use this 3M abrasive wheel. It's a polycarbonate wheel. You can also pick up some similar ones at Harbor Freight. Use that to take off most of the adhesive, old paint, and stuff like that. Clean it up. It's also really good at getting some areas that were rusted off. Took a lot of that down to bare metal so I can kind of refinish that. And then once I got it down to having the bulk of everything off of that, then you can use some MEK or acetone to kind of clean up the last of any remaining glue residue that's stuck on there. And then once they were all cleaned up, I just gave them a coat of primer and a couple layers of paint, and they were ready to be covered. So while the original airplane seats that came with this airplane did not have headrest, this model year it was designed for headrest as an option. You can see there's a little slot here in the top, and that's where the post goes down into. So what I've done is just ordered some aluminum bar stock with 1/8 of an inch, measured out the opening to kind of get a rough idea what would fit in there. Starts out, it goes in a little bit loose, but when you get down, there's an area about halfway down where I think they've got a piece of aluminum that's curved, and that, you can hear it kind of snaps into place, locks in hard, so that it kind of bows down and presses against it. So that's about the maximum thickness that you could go with, what I've got here. Anything bigger than that, and while it'll fit in this opening, you're gonna have a real hard time when it actually gets down in there where it bites, and then that holds in there really tight. And then I've just got a sheet of aluminum here. It's about I think about a 1/16 of an inch thick. I'll post the details of all this in the description. The Airtex website, they give you some instructions when they send you the headrest with it, tell you just what size to cut this down to. And then we'll just drill a couple holes in here and then place in a couple of rivets. We'll smooth down the edges on this just to make sure that it's not going to cut into anything. But then the foam just inserts around that, and the headrest cover sits on top of that. And that's all there is to it. I'll get started on that, and I'll film it as I go along. So here you can see a kind of a rough approximation of how all this is going to go together. And then the trickiest part, obviously, is getting all that to fit back inside the headrest. at the end. But I'll show you a trick for that. So here you can see me laying out the aluminum to cut to size based on the specs that I got from Airtex. It's a little bit overkill here. I'm using a square to make sure I've got this precise and taking really accurate measurements. But as you'll see, the piece is a lot smaller than the foam that goes in there, so you don't have to be quite this exact on it. But Airtex will supply the dimensions based on your aircraft. In my case, it was about a 3-inch by about a 7.5-inch piece, as you see here. And then after that's done, basically just drill a couple holes, put a couple rivets in there, and make yourself a nice little T out of it. And do that 4 times, and all that's left after that is to put it inside the foam and put that inside the headrest. All right, so we've got these made. Now what we have to do is try to get this to fit inside of this. But there's a trick to it, so check this out. This goes in here, right about the middle. Then we're going to take a dry cleaner bag. And my vacuum hose. Slide the hose up on the stick and just wrap the bag around to hold it tight with your hands. Keep it closed. And then I'm going to turn this on. It's going to suck the air out. And while the vacuum is running and continuously pulling the air out, it's going to fit right in here. Ready? Here we go. And then it will expand nicely to fit like a glove. And of course, if you don't get it right on the first try, right, just turn the vacuum on, pull the air back out, pull it out, readjust. Now getting the bag out, you're gonna have to rip the bag. So we'll just reach up in there and rip the bag out and then get as much of the excess out of there as we can. But then the bottoms are gonna Velcro up. You've already got your stick right on there. So yeah, then just make some minor adjustments to your leather out here. Hand in there and pop that corner out. But yeah, I've heard horror stories about trying to get this to work. Yeah. So there you have it. I'm sure it'd be a little tough. Oh, maybe not. I was gonna say maybe a little bit tough closing this up when you're done, but no, just push it down, Velcro cinches up. There you go. All right, I'll get the other 3 done and then I'll start putting the seat support material on. And we'll go from there. See, how hard can it be? All right, so putting on the seat support material, it may be a little bit hard to see what I did here. In the other video, you can see it from the top down, but this is after I've cut everything out. But basically what I was doing here is take a marker or something and draw a line after you lay the material down all the way around the frame on each side of that, and all the way around the outside. Just follow the curve around with it, both inside and outside. And what that's going to do for you, it's going to show you on this outer circle, the outer line here, that's how far up that you'll make your cut to, so that when you pull the material over, you've got nice lines. Takes it right up to the edge there to glue those on. What it also is going to do, because the next step once it's cut out, is initially we're just going to glue it to the frame. So just some glue right here on the metal itself, and then you'll have a nice little line on each side here. That's an area where you can put the glue, because that's the part that's kind of going to grip right here. And so we'll do that, fold it over, and then we'll clamp that up on each side with just that glue on there. Once that's clamped, we'll do the same thing to the other side, and the clamps will hold it so we can pull this nice and tight across as we clamp those sides down. And then the same thing on the top and bottom. Once we've got that nice and secure here, and that's dried and tacked up pretty well, and we'll put some extra glue here and here so that we can then glue this whole piece down, and that'll keep it nice and secure. So, like I said, draw your lines around the frame like that, and then as far as cutting out the material, again, although I know it's a little tough to see here in the lighting and everything, but there's a nice little line here with a curve. And again, that just showed me how far to cut up as I was cutting out these pieces, and also gave me the edge to cut away some of the sections that I wanted to cut away. So at this point, I've got all 4 of the seat bottoms cut out. So the next step, like I said, is we're going to put the adhesive on here and on the metal frame, and then clamp that down before we do the final seal. All right, and there you have it, initially secured. And like I said, what I'll do is I'll let that set up for a bit, and then we'll come back and we will put glue down in here, and that way it'll be really nice and strong. You can't pull away from that. So let that sit up for a bit. I'll go get something to eat. We'll come back and we'll finish that up. And then we'll do it 3 more times. So that's had a little time to set. I'm just going to trim these a little bit so there's not quite so much excess on them. And there it is. So again, we'll just let that set up and then we'll get started on the next one. So for the seat backs, I know I've got enough room here. This is just going to wrap up, glue down right on there. Got enough length on that. And then these are going to come fold up and cover this and wrap into here. So it's going to take a measurement from there to there to there. Call it 7 inches. So I'm just coming about 7 inches up here and cut, and that should be plenty. And I've got this folded in half because that's how it came from Airfix. But it works nice because I cut it to size for this one, and it's good for 2. So down here again, we're just going to cut out to leave these bits exposed, so kind of a little half circle down here. Kind of like we did with the seat bottoms. And then we'll just kind of round this out a little bit. All right, so all the seat support material, also called webbing sometimes, is done. Everything's been attached. This is the seat back. Here's the seat bottom. So that's all done. Next step is to put on, we'll start with the seat bottom. So there it is. The leather is already attached to the foam, so this is going to get mounted right on there. We'll put some adhesive on here and on here. That sits down, and then everything just pulls down around that And then to affix this to the bottom, we'll use a bunch of hog rings, and I got some hog ring pliers at Harbor Freight, and we'll pinch those around. That should secure everything in place. It's first time for everything, but hey, how hard can it be, right? Well, here we go. So I haven't used these before. These are hog ring pliers. That is a hog ring, and they fit. You see a little opening there in the middle. Well, that's a problem. Well, my hog ring pliers are smaller than my hog ring, so that's not going to work very well. It's supposed to fit right down in there, but it doesn't. So, not big enough. Back to the store. I'll be back. All right, so back from the store. Like I said, the hog ring pliers just open up. And it's got a little groove in there that kind of holds that ring in place, and then just push down deep into the material, give it a squeeze, and then she'll close up nice and tight around it. So they say. Well, that adhesive certainly works good. Here goes nothing. So they're supposed to be sharp enough to kind of punch through when you push down, but that wasn't. Maybe I need some better hog rings because these aren't doing it. Nope. I don't think these are sharp enough. It's supposed to have really sharp ends, and these don't. So this is like my third trip to the store today for all this stuff. Yeah. I think I spend more time and money and gas probably driving back and forth to the store sometimes working on this project than I have on some of the stuff for the project. So I got the hog rings at Home Depot, and they're backed by the fence department, like chain link fence. And I think they're hog rings that are meant to be used really just to, you know, close up pieces of chain link fence. So they don't have the sharp tips that upholstery hog rings do. But what do I know? So anyway, there's another store, Tractor Supply, pretty close. I went on their website. The hog rings that I saw on there look like they're nice and pointy. So let me go try that and see if that works out a little bit better. So I think we may have success. So I looked at these, the points look nice and sharp, and while they call them hog rings, if you look here, it actually says for upholstery. So I think those are the ones I was looking for. Probably should have just gone on Amazon and ordered the pliers, the rings, and everything, and done a more specific search, but yeah, I didn't do that. Anyway, heading back to the house. Let's give this another shot. And since I had to make a third trip to the store, that'll make me happy. All right, so hopefully third time's the charm with this. So, not sure. I want to do this, maybe bring the foam secured first. I think that's probably a good idea. Let's glue the foam down first. So I'll cut it here, around this little guy, here, here. Let's do that. So that looks much sharper. So now I think the other hog ring pliers would have been better, just because the grooves in these are kind of recessed a little bit and the hog ring doesn't stick out much. But I can't make a fourth trip to this store. Please God, no. So let's make this work. Nope. That is not working worth a shit. Did I say shit? So before I do something stupid, I'm just gonna walk away and think about this. Maybe work on the seat backs while we think about the hog rings for the bottoms. Don't need hog rings for the seat backs, that's a little more straightforward. So maybe I'll tackle that first. Let's think about it before I put a bunch of holes in here and ruin it. Something like that. do something. I forgot to make the hole in there for the headrest. So there's apparently two techniques on this. One is to turn this completely inside out like a sock and then roll it down. The other is turn it partially inside out and then just pull the top down snug, work your hand in there. So let's try option B first. If that doesn't work, then we'll roll it completely inside out. See how this does. Let's go with option A, the inside out technique. All right, so I did find a much easier way to put this on. Got this one completely on right now. I'll still open it up and do the glue on the inside to bring that down, but found a pretty easy way actually to put it on. Turn it inside out like they suggest completely, and then put your hand down on the inside. I'll film this, but I'll just talk you through it. But with it inside out, put your hand down and then just kind of line this top part up. And you just kind of work a little bit to the edge just to get the very couple inches started. come back over, do the other same thing, and then you just slowly kind of just creep it down a little bit with it inside out on each side, just slowly unrolling it. And you know, first obviously make sure that you've got your seams nice and lined up at the top and on the side at the very top, and you'll be able to see it within the first couple inches. And once you've got that adjusted, then just kind of take your time going, you know, back and forth one side and the other, and it does just unroll really nice all the way down. And then just pull it really tight across the bottom and the sides. If you've got any wrinkles, just, you know, pull it down nice and tight, stretch it out, put your hand up in there a little bit if you need to, and push it out. And yeah, it's not bad at all. Sitting down in the air condition is a lot better than sweating out here in the garage, standing up trying to fight with it. So just sat down on the couch and basically just unrolled it. Came out nice. I did trim a little bit more of the foam off here. If you remember, I had folded over, and then made a third fold on top of that. That's too thick back here. So basically I trimmed out part of the sides to leave a nice opening for the top flap to come down, and that way all three parts of the foam are nice and flush in there. Because otherwise this puffs out too much and it doesn't look right. So yeah, that was the only adjustment I made on the foam. Other than that, it's what you saw. And yeah, so what I'm gonna do now is lay up the foam on the other three, and then I'm gonna take them inside and sit down and put them on. And then once they're all done and I feel good about it, I'll just open this back up again. We'll spray the adhesive on the inside and then push all this down so that it lays nice and flush. But I mean, I've heard some people say that they don't even glue that down. And it's pretty close to a flush fit there. And I think if you sat in it long enough, it would probably stretch out, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the adhesive on it just so it's more form fitting on that. So, all right, there you go. Moving on to the rest of these, and then we'll figure out the whole hog ring situation with the bottom ones. So, update on the hog ring crisis. So, yeah, I was working on the seat backs, which these are all done now, and they're coming out nice. The only thing I have to do is still spray the the spray adhesive on the inside just to push this down and contour that a little bit. But that's easy. We just Velcro this, spray it up in there, press that down, piece of cake. Other than that, though, they all came out real nice. But I was in the process of working on these, and I picked up an empty one of these. It felt a little heavier than some of the other ones were. And so I reached down into this little seat back pocket, and out pops a bag of hog rings, complete with a nice hog ring set of pliers. Yeah, who knew? I searched through the box. I figured they were in the box because everybody says that they send you the hog rings and they send you a pair of pliers, not the, fanciest ones in the world, but they get the job done. And I dug through the box. I looked through the box because there were a couple other small items that I was missing, the assist handle and another little strap. And I didn't see that in the box, so I thought they were just missing. And I was going to send Airtex an email, which I'm glad I didn't do. But yeah, they were all stuffed in the back of this little pocket here. I guess they just didn't want them to roll around in shipping. So that, along with the paperwork that came with the seats, that goes in the logbook to verify that everything is fireproof and all that, that was all in the back of that pocket. So note, if you, like me, order a new set of seats from Airtex, look inside these pockets and you may find some items that you're missing. So anyway, yeah, so now that I got that, I can work on the seat bottoms. Tops are pretty much done, and yeah, moving on. Oh, so there's the first couple in there. What I'm doing here is I'm kind of rolling the edge over, kind of doubling it up just to make it a little bit thicker, and then pulling taut, pushing down. Easy to get through the leather. It's hard getting through this seat support material, so I'm just making sure I get a really good stab at that before I start squeezing on it, and then that closes up around there. So yeah, hurts your hand a little bit too. Whew. All right. So that's one. I'm gonna leave this part loose for now. That'll tighten this up once I lock that down. But I'm gonna leave this loose and this little excess here loose until I get the get ready to put the top seats back, the seat backs back on, just so I can see kind of what I want to do with that material. And see how much I want to leave exposed and how much I want to cover up. So just kind of leave it like that for now. So there are definitely two ways to disassemble and, more importantly, reassemble the top and bottom half of these seats. I've done them both, and I can tell you which one is a lot easier than the other, although at first glance you wouldn't think that's the case. So let's talk through it here a little bit. Top and bottom are held on primarily by one bolt that goes right through here, and on the outside of that there's a flathead screw and then a little tiny bolt that's way down inside here. And that seems the most logical way to take these things apart, because you just take the one bolt out of each side and the top separates from the bottom, and that's how I took them apart. or at least tried to, because a couple of them, the bolt, I don't know what they did to it. I don't know if they painted it in place or whatever, but I beat on it with a hammer. Could not get it out. So there's a second way to take them apart, and that is under here. You can see these two little bolts right here. And then there's a nut on the inside of that. And basically the single bolt locks onto this bracket here. And this bracket is what the seat slides down into. And this bracket pivots, as you can see here. And so to actually secure the seat to the bracket, that's what these two little bolts here do. And you would think it'd be much easier just to take out the one versus taking out the two and trying to line up the seats. But no, actually, it's a lot simpler to do this. With the back seats, it's not as much, in terms of reassembly, it's not as difficult because there's a lot more room between the bottom cushion and the top cushion. But when you're working on the front seats, it's a lot more, the cushion's a lot thicker on that. And when you bring these two together right here, in order to align the bolt hole, if you do just this bottom one, you've really got to try to compress both seats, and it's really tough trying to get that down and then push that through there. What's much easier, actually, is leave these brackets on. Leave that bolt attached when the frame is down to, you've got it stripped down. Leave this bolt in there and take the top half of the seat frame off with these two, and then put your cushion on and wrap it and do everything. And then all you do is, once you've put the seat on, done your test fit, just open up the Velcro like I did right here, and that'll leave these two exposed. And then what you're gonna do is just slide the seat right inside this little bracket here. You'll see how that happens. And then secure the bolts in place. With the seat leaning forward, it's tough to do that because the two cushion pieces are pressing on each other. But as you're putting it together, rotate the piece as far aft as it goes. The seat cushions are completely away from each other. And then you can put your bolts in, secure the nuts inside, and then bring the seat forward. So that's my tip on the easiest way to put these seats back together. And also, when you're taking them apart, you can take them apart that way. And like I said, just leave these brackets attached instead of trying to take these big pins out. Because, like I said, number one, it's hard getting it back in there when you reassemble it. It's also really hard to get your finger down in between these two pieces of cushion to put the nut on the other side in between the two seats. It's much easier, and I've got really big fingers, but it's much easier just to get down in here. You can actually see on the inside where the nuts are. I don't know if you can see it here, but they're right down there. They're real easy to see, real easy to get access to when you just lift this Velcro back up. And then when you're all done with that, you just re-secure everything and you're good to go. So there you go. That's my tip. So one little update on the seats as far as the headrest goes. So originally I did these with about a 12-inch piece of bar stock. And then I found out and realized that instead of this going in and locking in when it first gets down to about here, if you push this forward just a little bit, it kind of unlocks it, and then you're able to actually slide this all the way down to all that empty space below here. So you really don't have to worry too much about trimming this piece off or making it a certain length, because you've got plenty of extra room to work with. So I ended up going with about a 2-foot piece of bar stock for each one. And like I said, all you have to do, once you push it down and it kind of stops, is you push it forward a little bit, and then you'll find out it'll slide past the bottom of that bracket, and then you can adjust it that way pretty much any height that you want while it's in the airplane, and the tension's going to kind of hold it wherever you stop. So you don't have to be as specific in how far you cut this or what length you go with on that. And the other thing, that I've decided I'm probably going to do with this. I did this with aluminum. The only downside to aluminum is that when it's in the airplane, if you put your hand on here and put much weight on it, that aluminum's going to bend. And of course you can just bend it back. But what I'm probably going to do is I might change this out to a piece of steel, just so it's a little bit stronger. So the process for that, you basically just open this back up again and then put your vacuum tight against the foam that's in there, shrink it back down. You can pull the whole thing back out. And then I'll just take the rivets out of the aluminum brackets that I've got in here as a T, and replace this with a piece of steel just to give it a little bit more strength. Not something that you have to do, as long as you're kind of careful about putting weight against the headrests. So I might do that, I might not. But just kind of wanted to give you an update as far as the length of this and worrying about cutting it too short or too long. You can go, like I said, with about 2 feet, because that's going to go down all the way into here, but you got plenty of room to work with under that. The bracket itself stops right about here. And so, yeah, just a little quick update on that. There you go.
Hope you're enjoying all the videos that I'm putting out. I've got lots more coming ahead. Please, if you're watching this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Getting very close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm really trying to hit that mark. So please, if you're enjoying any of my videos, do me a huge favor, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you're liking the content, and share it with friends. Got some fun stuff coming up. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching.